sink in the mud tonight. First soak through a street light. One whimper cuts the pouring air. Two eyes wide with silent prayer. Three blocks walked with shaking hands. Four walls rise where kindness stands. The storm outside begins to